Yeah, I get this a lot and variations of it. Why wasn't I taught this? Why is this the first time I'm hearing this? I'm sure that it was covered. How come it was buried underneath all of the Civil War facts and figures? Well, it's not because, and for those of you who have followed me for a long time on here or who have been in any of my classrooms know, I am not some sort of once in a generation genius, right? That I'm stumbling across these hidden messages that have been suppressed, like National Treasure Part 3. The answer is pretty simple. I think it's also troubling. You're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to remember. The omission's the point. Because you're taught, most people are taught, through America's powerful media, but also through the education system, a nationalist myth. It's this clean, comforting story about the founder's genius and a constitutional order that, when tested, always corrects itself toward justice. It's a story that says the system works. Trust the process. But that's not history. That's catechism. And nationalism needs more articles of faith rather than moments of truth. And so the American national myth is powerful because it serves the establishment, those in power who want to keep that power, and the regime that's been more or less running the show since 1789. And so the nationalist right uses it to create a fantasy of founders who were closet abolitionists. The nationalist left uses it to insist that progress is the natural product of the system structures. Both agree on the genius and vision of the founders, which is to get visible stuff like Akil Ritamar's America's Constitutional Biography. God. Both sides need the story to be neat. Both sides need to admire the founders, need you to as well. Because admitting the truth tears at the heart of the nationalist faith. They think it's destabilizing. I've been called, for what I do, irresponsible when I'm not being called disrespectful. Yeah, to people who have been dead for 200 years. Really, I get that a lot. But I only see all of this because of my training. My training in graduate school as a historian. There's nothing really special about me. In graduate school, I was trained to look at the past outside a national framework called the Atlantic School. And that national framework just conceals more than it reveals. It's like evaluating a burning house by sitting in its living room. I mean, you really can't see the full picture through all the smoke. But when you step outside the nationalist box, you start to see truths others just can't see because they just don't have the same literal perspective. It's like that scene in Dead Poets Society. Get on top of the desk. Things look a lot different. Not that they couldn't see those truths if they looked, but you still got to step outside the burning house to do it. Truths like the constitutional wreckage of the 1860s. The bedrock of the modern multiracial democracy that is the United States. I think we can all agree is the 14th Amendment. But that was secured only because the founders' constitutional order was suspended. So when the 39th Congress convened in December of 1865, the radical Republicans refused to seat the representatives from the 11 former Confederate states when they showed up. No, go away. So they created this Rump Congress of the 25 loyal states, basically all of the states that had been there through the war. This was the body that proposed the 14th Amendment. So when the southern states refused to ratify it, because people like Andrew Johnson campaigning against it too, the radical Republicans in Congress responded with the Reconstruction Acts of 1867, the beginning of radical Reconstruction, not plan. They dissolved the southern governments that had been appointed by people like Andrew Johnson, carved the South into 5 military districts, and placed them under the command of United States generals. And the message was clear. Fine, you won't reconstruct on your own, we'll make you. We don't trust you anyway. And then readmission to the Union and then access to your representation was made explicitly conditional on ratifying the 14th Amendment. Don't like it? Talk to the United States Army parked on your State House lawn. That was not a process of free consent. That was ratification by mandate. It was an act of revolutionary resistance to the established constitutional order, whatever it takes. So, why cover it up? Why cover it up? It's a cool story. It's inspirational. A group of people looked at the country and said, almost explicitly, we know the founders didn't mean what they said, but we do. We're going to make this into the country that they wouldn't, whatever it takes. You say we the people, we say all the people. You say all men are created equal, we mean it. That should be a through line in American history. People fighting against tremendous odds for what is right and sometimes even succeeding. Not Be patient, work for gradual change. You'll get there someday, and if you don't, oh well, maybe your grandchildren will, but you tried, trust the system. That's how the myth works. It forestalls real resistance. It insists that opposition is only legitimate if it stays within the structures that the powerful built, in ways the establishment says you can oppose. It trains you to see stepping outside those structures as un-American. You're a communist. You're a Marxist. You're an intruder. It makes obedience part of American national identity. Stay in your lane. Don't get too loud. Make sure your signs aren't too big. And no matter what, don't throw anything. Those fragile guys in Kevlar and masks spook so easily. That's why this honest history gets bulldozed, because the truth's dangerous. It shows the framers' constitutional order wasn't the engine of progress, it was the obstacle to it. And when liberty expanded, it was not because the system worked. It was because people resisted it and then broke it. That's the resistance history of the United States. And that story threatens every part of the establishment. And it's not meant to inspire, it's not meant to make you feel good, it's meant to instruct, but it's a history that we all can recover.